Call to order. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular board meeting of the Halton Catholic District School Board on Tuesday, September 19th, 2023. Please note that this meeting is being live streamed and will be posted on the board's YouTube channel. Trustees, in order to be recognized, please use the hand up feature in Teams to be automatically placed in queue. Trustees, please remember to turn on your desk mics when you speak. Also, please remember that if you speak when you're not recognized or when you do not have the floor, your mics shall be muted. Our first item, 1.1, land acknowledgement, opening prayer, Our Father, national anthem. I would now like to ask Trustee Johan Chanada to please start us off with a personalized land acknowledgement. Trustee Johan Chanada.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. It's a great honor that I'm able to create a personal land acknowledgement for the group. I wish to acknowledge that the town of Halton Hills, from which I was elected, is located on the treaty lands in the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. And it is important that we recognize this and build relationships with Indigenous nations. This territory is covered by Treaty 19 of 1818. As a visitor on this land, coming from Irish and Welsh descent, I strive to deepen my own understanding of the local Indigenous communities. I commit to reframing my responsibilities to land and community, and I come with respect for this land that I'm on today and for the people who have and do reside here.
Thank you very much, Trustee Johan Chanada. Trustee Deepu, could you please lead us in the opening prayer, the Our Father national anthem?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Can you all please join me in the sign of our faith, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, as we gather here today, we thank you for the grace to have come here to serve your children in the school board. We thank you for having brought us to this meeting safely, and we pray for all those who are watching us online tonight. As we prepare for another eventful meeting packed with reports, presentations, and discussions, we ask that you send your Holy Spirit down upon us to guide and support us throughout all our endeavors. Lord, we ask that you help us to engage in meaningful discussions and interactions that will allow us to work together towards our common goal to help our students and staff across the board to achieve, believe, and belong. May we be able to foster a positive and safe space that allows us to love one another just as you have loved us. We ask this in Jesus' name as we pray the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Thank you, Trustee Deepu. Next item is motions arising from in camera. There were no motions arising that will require a vote in the public session. Our next order of business is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? Seeing none. Okay, we have Trustee Murphy. I see your hand up. Trustee Murphy, you have the
Yes,
floor.
thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move the policy regarding learning selections out of the consent agenda, please.
Okay, give me a second. Policy number?
Dash 25. Yeah,
I-
II dash 25.
Okay. You want to move it to the regular position, right? Okay.
Please.
Okay. Any other? I see Trustee Kennedy, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'm wondering if I can move, having trouble finding the agenda, item number
Tell me the item.
6.2.1.
Business arising from previous meeting?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you, Trustee. 6.2.1. Give me a second. Okay. That's all. Thank you, trustees. Seeing none, seeing no other changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda, may I ask for a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Looking for a mover, please. Trustee Carabella. Looking for a seconder, please.
I'll second it.
Trustee Murphy, I'll take it to a recorded vote. Trustee Kennedy,
In favor?
Trustee Ohonchanada, Trustee Agnew, Trustee Murphy,
In favor.
Trustee Saunders, Trustee Kelly,
In favor.
Trustee Chua. Trustee Chua said she can't make it today. Trustee Deepu,
In favor.
Trustee McGuire,
In favor.
Trustee Carabella,
In favor.
Trustee Powell,
In favor.
so we have 8 in favor, none opposed, no abstention, motion carries. The agenda is approved as amended has been approved. We shall now move on to our next order of business, which is declarations of conflict of interest. Are there any conflict of interest to be declared tonight? Seeing none, we shall now move on to our next item, which is presentations. Item 4.1, senior staff updates. Director Klein, please introduce the presentation.
Thank you, Chair. As you are aware, the work that continues in program, curriculum, special education to ensure that we are providing myriad pathways that support the learners and support our educators in terms of their skills and capacities to deliver those programs is never ending. And I'll turn it over now to Superintendent Kroll.
Good evening, trustees, and through you, Mr. Chair. Pleased to bring this update. You'll recall at the last board meeting, we did bring an update on some of the summer programming that was offered. This is sort of part 2 of that presentation. So I am pleased to be joined by Deanna Galasso, who is the principal of Camp Summerland. Deanna ran a wonderful program up in Milton for a number of our students, and I'm going to ask her to share some good news and some information about Camp Summerland.
Good evening, everyone. As Jeff just introduced, my name's Deanna, and Camp Summerland this year was a 3-week program, the first 3 weeks of July. It ran from 8:30 to 12. Its focus was on closing gaps in literacy and numeracy for grades 3 and 5 in a fun and interactive camp style. For kindergarten, it was for students who were new to Canada or students who have not been in a school setting. We also supported student mental health as well this year. These are just examples of the calendars that my staff and I set forth for the duration of the 3 weeks. That one, the first one was for grades 3 to 5, and this one was for kindergarten. And then some parent feedback. I sent out a form survey to gather parent feedback weekly, and this is what we got at the end of our program. So one of the parents commented, because it was a fun and excited way to keep him learning without him realizing. I can't say enough about how amazing this program was, and I'm so happy and blessed that their child was chosen, and the swag bag of things he received on this last day and throughout the program was so thoughtful and amazing. Way to go, HCDSP, outstanding program. Another one was about the child's confidence and how it increased, and it's priceless because children need to feel confident in the process of learning. So another one was it gave us parents an idea of what needs to be worked on from home before attending school in September. Also gave my child the opportunity to integrate into in-person class, learn routines and rules, and most of all, get excited about attending school in person in September. This program also gave my child the opportunity to socialize, grow, and gain independence away from home. We will miss Camp Summerland and all the educators. Thank you for your hard work. So that was from one of our kinder parents. And then we have, this is a video that my team and I did for the end of our program for parents to see all the fun things that we did and all the learning that took place. So if we could.
There was something in the water that made me go wild. Made me go wild. Made me go wild. There was nothing in the world making me smile like your smile, like your smile. We were standing on the edge with the sand under our feet. We felt like we made it. And now that winter's come and gone, I'm 17 again. My heart is beating stronger. Every time I think of you, it's taking me back there, taking me back there. And it feels like summer. It feels like summer. It feels like summer. It feels like summer. There was something in your eyes that made me let go. Made me let go. Made me let go. We were sleeping.
The full video is 8 minutes. This is just a teaser. This is just the teaser trailer. But we'll be happy to send the video out to. We'll be happy to send the video out to trustees. So I should just note that the funding from Camp Summerland comes from CODE, which is the Council of Ontario Directors of Education. So they give us limited funding each year to run this type of summer programming. And I just want to say I'm really proud of Deanna and the educators that put on this amazing summer program. So happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you. There are a couple of hands up here. Trustee Murphy, you have a hand up?
Yeah, thank you. I recognize some smiling faces in that video. It's really cute to see. My question is, you talked about, I guess it was in the second slide, I think you had referenced selection. So I'm just curious how students get into the program.
Sure.
Student girl?
Sure, and through you, Mr. Chair. So the criteria for a program are students who are struggling, right? So we identified a couple of needs, students that were either below grade level in literacy or numeracy in grades 3 to 5. And we asked schools to choose the students who we thought would most benefit from this type of programming and also would be most likely to attend this type of programming. Because we had limited space, that's how we started. And Deanna and our staff then worked to try and match as many students to spaces as were available. The kindergarten was new for us. That was sort of another emerging need. We were recognizing that there are students that have never been in a formal school setting or are new to Canada. And so we thought that was another sort of need that we heard from the system that I think we were able to meet during the summer. So we definitely tried to maximize opportunities for as many students as possible with the funds we were given.
Thank you, Trustee Murphy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Trustee Saunders. Trustee Saunders.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm just wondering, how many kids did we have in this year?
Thank you, Trustee Saunders. Superintendent Kroll.
So yes, 3
Sorry.
Sorry. I'm going to have Deanna answer that question.
Sorry.
There are 63 in total of so grades 3, 4, 5, and kinder.
And a follow-up question?
Sure, go ahead.
The teachers, are they our regular teachers that they take an opportunity to teach, or are we bringing in new teachers, or who's doing this teaching?
Superintendent Kroll?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. This was done by our staff, so these teachers would apply to these positions and through HR.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Saunders. Up next is Trustee Carabella. You have your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my question, thank you for the presentation, is so there are 62 students, but is there a, is there a demand for more? And do you just approach, like you have 62 spaces, so do you just approach 62 or do you like approach 100 or like, how do you figure that out? Thank you.
Superintendent Kroll?
Certainly, I'll try and start answering that question through you, Mr. Chair, and certainly Deanna can help me. We ask schools to sort of prioritize. So they know their students best. So we're certainly working with them to try to identify the students that would most benefit from this. For some students that weren't able to take advantage of that opportunity, we would then offer spaces to other students. So we kind of work our way down the list until we're able to fill all of the spaces.
Thank you, Trustee Carabella. You have a follow-up? Okay. We shall now move on down to Vice Chair Agnew. You have the floor.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Just a question, and I'm sure you're not surprised, but your ability to support students with special education needs, whether those be academic or physical or otherwise, are you positioned to be able to do that? Have we done that?
Superintendent Kroll?
Did you want to add to that? No, go ahead.
Well, we do have a cert allotted to us as well as EAs, and our numbers are lower so that there's 2 teachers per class, so that there is that instruction taking place for all the needs of the students.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you. So in the event that you did have a student who required additional support, whether that be for daily living or otherwise, accessibility wise, the venues you choose, are they fully accessible for our students? Are you able to meet those needs? Should students that are able to participate in the program?
Superintendent Kroll?
Sure. Certainly through you, Mr. Chair. Absolutely. We're using our own facilities. We're using our own educators. We're using our own resources. So we would never turn away a student because we couldn't meet their needs.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Trustee Murphy.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I just was wondering, is it only one location? And if so, are there options for children to be bused in?
Superintendent Kroll?
That was something that we struggled with a little bit this year. It is a challenge to offer programming at multiple sites with the limited funding that we were provided. So what we've looked at the past couple years since we returned to this programming in person is trying to offer it in a central location. So offering it in Milton and not able to offer transportation.
Thank you, Trustee Murphy. Do you have a follow-up?
No, thank you.
Thank you, trustees. I see no other hands up, and I sense the excitement among the trustees for this program. It seems to be a very good program, and I've been following this program all summer, Deanna. So thank you so much for coming and presenting to the Board of Trustees, and say thank you to your team. I know there's a team of staff. Say thanks to them. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
So this next part of the presentation, I take absolutely no credit for. I'm just here to introduce them. We did have also a special education summer learning program that ran sort of concurrently in July. And I'm here to introduce the principal, Diana Camito, and the vice principal, Colleen Berardo, who are the principals of the summer learning program, to share some more information about our summer learning.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak here this evening and to share a little bit of what we've done this summer with the Special Education Summer Learning Program. This program provided approximately 30 of our special education students the opportunity to be a part of a really special learning experience that combined literacy, numeracy with social and communication skills. We had 3 different classes to service our student population. They ranged, students in grades 4 to 8 were either placed in an essential skills class or a structured teaching class, and our secondary students were placed in a life skills class. Staff included myself and Colleen, who served as a special education consultant or coordinator, 3 teachers, 13 EAs, a CYC, a behavior analyst, and a CDA. Staff and students quickly became a family and enjoyed many learning and social experiences together.
During this 3-week program, the staff led students through differentiated literacy and numeracy activities using creatively delivered lessons, hands-on activities, group work, and Osmos Learning Centers. There was no doubt by the conversation and excitement in the classrooms that the students were enjoying their learning. We were very fortunate to have our amazing CDA Mel deliver the Story Champs program to the students. Sessions to help develop student social and emotional skills were presented by Halton Women's Place. Topics included My Safe Community, Healthy Friendships, and Free to Be Me. We also had Mr. Colhane volunteer his time to share his talents by leading students in a STEAM activity.
Another aspect of our learning program is to provide students with experiential learning. So we invited little raised reptiles, and it gave students an opportunity to conquer some of their fears and our fears, touching and holding some of those amazing creatures. And our CYC Ashley arranged for some therapy dog visits through St. John's Ambulance.
We also had X Movement come in. Mars, our fabulous energizer from X Movement, motivated our students to move while also teaching them about the importance of having a positive mindset, being kind to one another, and embracing our differences. We were also treated to an art lesson by Aiden Lee. Aiden is an exceptional young man who willingly shares his story of growing up with ADHD, anxiety, and autism. He's a former HCDSB student who's not only an incredible artist, but a wonderful role model for our students.
And on our last day, we got to celebrate in a way that we all love. We ordered a McDonald's pancake breakfast just to celebrate all their successes and all the new friendships they've made. The program was not only an amazing experience for students, but staff truly enjoyed their time. The proof really was in the fact that so many of our staff and students returned from last summer. There really are no words to describe that sense of belonging, love, and happiness that we all had the privilege of experiencing. But we're hoping the video on the next slide gives you a little taste of how happy everyone was.
8 minutes.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Give me all you got, don't hold it back. Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Bring me down, can't nothing bring me down. Your love is too high. Bring me down, can't nothing bring me down. I said, bring me down, can't nothing bring me down. Your love is too high. Bring me down, can't nothing bring me down. I said.
Thank you for your presentation. We have a couple of trustees. Trustee Agnew, you have your hand up. Trustee Agnew, you have the floor.
Great, thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Chair. It's probably similar to the question that was asked previous with respect to Camp Summit. How are these students chosen? How does this work? How are they selected to participate in this particular summer program?
Superintendent Kroll?
Yeah, I'll certainly turn this over to the staff that were doing that work. Thank you.
Thanks, Superintendent Kroll. Through you, Mr. Chair. The students were chosen, they were sort of put forward by their homeschool certs in terms of fitting the profile that would belong to each of those classes. So the essential skills, life skills, and structured teaching classes.
Bashir?
Yeah, so just to follow up. So my understanding is that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is funding that had come from the ministry previously, and they've thankfully continued part of this funding. Is there a will to continue this? Should we lose that funding? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but just, is it something that you sort of planned for to hopefully be able to provide moving forward in the event that we don't see that funding? How beneficial it is for these?
Sister Superintendent Kroll, yeah.
Sure, and I certainly wouldn't presume to speak for special education department. So I know they can speak for themselves. But what I certainly can say is that were funding not to be available next year, we would have to certainly look at what we could reasonably provide. We've been grateful that the ministry has been providing money for a number of years, and I haven't had any indication that money will suddenly dry up. I think they see value in summer programming and a variety of summer programming, as we demonstrated over the last 2 board meetings. So I'm not, never say never, but I'm not overly concerned.
Thank you very much. That's encouraging, and thank you for the work you did this past summer.
Thank you. How long did this program run? Was it a week or 2 weeks? Yeah, it's 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Okay, yeah. So I don't see any other trustees' hands up. So once again, thank you so much for the wonderful work that you did in the summer on this program, this Packet Learning Program, and keep up the good work. And we hope to see it grow next year, provided we get funding. So again, thanks so much for coming, Diane and Colleen. Thank you so much. We have another presentation. Director Klein, you would like to introduce the presentation?
So CPIC is clearly an, oh, sorry.
Superintendent Del Soto, I think so. Right, Superintendent Del Soto?
Yes.
You have the honor.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, Chair. I'd like to welcome back, and I'll ask Sita to join me as well, our graduation coach for Black students, Akeisha Newton-Williams. What we wanted to do was to have an opportunity for Akeisha to highlight really her summer program of how we could continue to bring Black excellence and Black brilliance to our students in our community, and by really capturing student voice so that we honor where the students are and what they need and how we can go further. I was also very happy to attend this summer for a session on financial literacy, primarily how to do it. And what I loved about it was the financial advisors that Akeisha had that came in really spoke to kids about how they need to think about money working for them and things to plan now, so that as they move further in life, they're really understanding how to continue to live a very sustainable and enjoyable life by understanding how money works in our world. I was very thrilled with the level of learning and discussion that these students and the presenters had, and that was just one of the highlights. I'm going to ask Sita if she would like to add anything.
Thank you. No, I think that you've summarized that really well. And as Akeisha continues to present on the program that she offered in the summer, I think it really sort of highlights the need for identity affirming spaces where all our students, our Black students in the school can really thrive and, can achieve, believe, and belong. So I'm really looking forward to her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. The other piece too that I want to highlight for Akeisha is the team approach that they have used at St. FX, and really the administration under Principal Peruzin has been just incredibly supportive, and the teachers have been incredibly supportive. And so we really are grateful to the St. FX community, and thank Alicia for really bringing in and building that culture. I do welcome everyone to go and visit the classroom, as it's only been a few months that we've had it, but we're really making it into a great affinity space. So Akeisha.
Thank you so much. Very nice presentation there with me. So thank you again for having me here. Today I will be presenting my 6-month update. Last time I was here was 6 weeks in. So I kept saying I've only been 6 weeks, but now it's 6 months, and I'm very proud of where we've come so far. So before I start, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the staff and administration team at St. Francis Xavier. I've maintained close contact with teachers, guidance counselors, CYC, social worker, and the entire administration team in order to support the success of our Black students. The support that I have received has been instrumental in the success of the graduation coach program. As much as I'm amazing, there's no way that this could have been possible without the team, like Superintendent Del Sordo said. So over the past 6 months, I've been very busy networking and building relationships with members of the community to offer amazing opportunities to not only St. Francis Xavier students, but to those in other HCSB schools. So as of September 13th, I have supported over 80 students at St. Francis Xavier. I've offered and am offering 20 leadership opportunities for students. I've provided 11 workshops. We've offered 2 community volunteer opportunities over the summer to 15 students. And at our last BSU, our Black Student Union meeting, which was last week, our first meeting actually, had about 50 students in attendance. So celebrating success and honoring culture is what our program at St. FX stands for. As a part of our graduation ceremony, 40 of our graduates donned kente stoles. So kente stoles are a symbol of Black excellence, achievement, and overcoming hardship. It pays homage to our African ancestors' sacrifices and asserts one's hope and confidence in the future. Each kente stole was made of hand-woven fabrics and was shipped to us directly from Ghana. So many people aren't aware of this, but I am a 12-month employee. So as a part of my role, I do support students over the summer. So now I will talk to you about my summer program. So students were offered an 8-session summer program, which ran over the course of July and August. We had 2 weeks in July and 2 weeks in August. Some of the activities and workshops included community cleanup, and that offered students an opportunity to gain community service hours. We had 2 financial literacy workshops where students learned about budgeting, saving, and investing. We had a wellness and social media workshop where we talked about the advantages and dangers of social media. We did a martial arts workshop, a vision board workshop where students used Black magazines to find images, words, and phrases that spoke to their aspirations for the upcoming school year. And we also did a trip out to McMaster University to partake in their STEM workshops. Along with our summer programs, our 8-session summer programs, our students also had opportunities to attend and volunteer at community events. In June, our students attended Halton Black Voices Black Joy Gala, where they enjoyed great food, games, and socialized with other Black youth in Halton. In August, 13 of our students volunteered at the Canadian Caribbean Association of Halton's Emancipation Day picnic at Milton Sports Center. So a day at McMaster, our biggest workshop was a full day trip brought to us by McMaster's Engineering Youth Outreach Program. The Black Outreach STEM series is a program that combines culturally relevant topics into STEM workshops for Black high school students. So for this trip, we had 24 students in attendance, and they were engaged in 2 workshops that related STEM concepts to Black identity. The first workshop that they participated in was called Curly Hair Series, and this focused on the science behind Black hair, evolutionary traits that are favorable according to the environment, as well as key scientific principles. Students carried out a lab-based workshop in which they used chemistry principles to create their own hair oil. The second workshop that they participated in was called Beats by Venture, and that was a workshop that focused on introducing students to audio engineering. They learned how to build a breadboard and used it to create their own music. In between workshops, students participated in a campus tour, visited a lecture hall, and also the Black Student Success Center. So our students really look forward to visiting MAC again to explore their other STEM workshops. One of the great things about this program is that not only can students participate in the workshops on campus, but the workshops can also come to us at our schools. So along with cosmetic and audio engineering, some of their other workshops explore mechanical and biomedical engineering. So this is definitely an opportunity that I'm hoping to share with our other BSUs. And last but not least, I would like to end off with student voice. My students were very eager to share their thoughts about the Graduation Coach program with you. And to do so, they took the initiative to create this short video, this short student voice video for you. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is Jane. I'm a grade 12 student here at St. Francis. Recently, we received the Graduation Coach program for Black students. Here is a video from our students regarding Ms. Akisha's role as Grad Coach.
Here's a look of our room. We have books by Black authors, a kitchen area, a lounge area, and also some computers for the students to use.
I saw that us as a community really getting together. Our guider, Ms. Akisha, really did a good job, organizing it. And I feel like it gave me opportunity and a lot of other people looking like me to, get together, connect in different ways than a classroom.
There's more to respect and a voice to be heard for us Black students. Ms. Akisha provides a safe place, and yeah, I think that there's like a more motivation in students for sure, because we know that we have someone that has our back.
What changes have you seen in yourself since the program has started?
Honestly, ever since Akisha has come into this school, I've wanted to come to this class a lot more, knowing that I'm in a comfortable environment, being able to get my work done, and with her teaching all the students around me, I've seen a lot more pathways for myself.
Ms. Akisha is comforting. Mother.
Inspirational.
She's very giving.
Motivational.
One of my favorite things from this graduation program was probably the summer programs. I think they were very educational and super fun. We had random activities that made us learn more things, like the Taekwondo one that was super fun. There was also the financial ones that really probably changed our minds on how we should manage our money. And I think it did do a lot of us some justice and good.
I like everything about the program. I like the fact that I can come here. I feel like I have a sense of belonging, like I really belong to a community. Ms. Akisha helped me to define my pathway and figure out what I want to do in life. She even helped me think about my courses. Even when I was going through something that nobody else went through, she helped me really push through it and do the best that I can do under my circumstances.
Thank you, Akisha, for your presentation. Trustees, do we have questions for Akisha? Superintendent Del Soto, I see a couple of hands up. Vice Chair Agnew, the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And not a question, Akisha, but just, congratulations on the great work that you're doing. It's nice to see 6 months after the 6 weeks, but anytime I hear students talk about wanting to participate in class more, wanting to be there more, that sense of belonging, and helping them to figure out what their next steps are and creating those pathway opportunities for them. I just think anytime we hear students talk about that, we're doing something right. So thank you so much for all the work and commitment that you put into this. It's really making a difference.
Thank you so much, Trustee McGuire.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank you for this program and stuff. As a student trustee, it's incredible to see students feel so safe and so heard in their school. I just wanted to see how we can further support your program and stuff, and how we can connect it with other schools, as you mentioned earlier, because I think that's very important. Thank you.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So we do have a team that compiles of the teachers that support BSUs. So our Black student unions, I believe there's 11 Black student unions. So as I mentioned, our programs, especially the one that McMaster offers, they can come to the other BSUs to provide those programs for them. And I'm also, like I said, making connections with other community agencies. The ladies that did the financial literacy programs, I'm able to connect them to those BSUs as well. So as much as I can do to support other schools, because it's not fair that just, St. FX gets it all. And I've had students reach out and want to participate in things, and teachers reach out and other staff members reach out and asking how they can also do the activities that we're doing. So I'm hopeful that that opportunity will come soon.
Thank you. You have a follow-up?
No, thank
Okay.
you. That answered my question.
Thank you. Up next is Trustee Carabella. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your presentation. Can I get reminded on how this program is funded, especially during the summer?
Right. So I'll go to Superintendent Del Sordo for that. Superintendent Del Sordo.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Thank you for the question, Trustee Carabella. One of the, this is all funded by the ministry, so the ministry has given us a 3-year funding and for it, and they gave us some of the measures and objectives that they would also like for us to track. So part of what Akeisha's position was actually tracking, and then we would write a report back to the ministry of how the money was spent. And so the goal really is in support of the ministry to build really Black excellence and Black joy and Black brilliance in our schools and to have representation.
Thank you, Superintendent Del Sordo. Trustee Carabella, you have follow-up?
Just to follow up as you were speaking, so is there like a particular budget each year?
Yes, so there's, right now it's a 3-year budget, so that this way we earmarked it for 3 years.
Thank you, Superintendent Del Sordo. I see Trustee Kennedy, you have your hand up. You have the floor.
Oh, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Just wondering about the financial literacy. I find that interesting. Is there just some examples of what is it learning about maybe saving for university or RESPs or managing budgets? Just curious what kind of topics.
Akeisha?
We didn't have that in school when I was.
So the financial literacy program was facilitated by financial advisors, 2 financial advisors, and they tailored it specifically for students. So they spoke about budgeting, they spoke about saving. One of the activities that they had students do was to go into their online banking and look back at 2 weeks and compare their wants and needs and how much they spent. I also did that activity and I didn't like it too much. Did not like it too much. And investing, we talked about life insurance too. Like, don't wait till you're older to get life insurance. It's not too early to talk to your parents and ask them if they have life insurance for you. And yeah, it was very eye-opening, definitely.
Thank you. I see no other hands up. So Akeisha, thank you so much for coming and giving us an update. Really appreciated the wonderful work done and hope to see it grow in other schools. And so thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
We shall now move on to our next. We shall now move on to our next presentation. That's on CPIC, an update from CPIC Director Klein. Please introduce the presentation.
So as you know that our Superintendent Donalfo has been for the last few years someone who's worked intimately with CPIC and who has guided them and steered them, and she is here to give us a bit of a report on the past year or so. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Klein, and through you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, trustees. The PowerPoint in your board package this evening is the CPIC year-end report for 22-23 for the Catholic Parent Involvement Committee, presented to Director Klein and shared with you as the Board of Trustees. The PowerPoint will be posted on the board website under CPIC for parents and stakeholders to provide a summary of the activities CPIC supported in promoting parent engagement across the system. The focus for this year's CPIC committee is to support newly formed Catholic school councils and new members. They are also planning system parent engagement sessions, which include adult faith formation for parents and information sharing on program and resources throughout the system, such as pathway planning, mental health support through our educators, child youth workers, and social workers, and liaisoning with our community partners. Their other subcommittee is to promote Catholic school councils through the social media of CPIC by having a collaborative sharing space for all Catholic school councils to share their good news stories about ideas that each of the Catholic school councils is doing to network within their community. In addition, the Catholic school councils will work collaboratively with school administrators to plan events with the Ministry of Education's Parent Reach Out grant funding that we receive, and each school will have an opportunity to receive these funds. Some of the parent engagement activities that took place last year included financial literacy nights, STEM and STEAM nights, mental health and resiliency presentations, newcomers to Canada, multicultural connections, social network safety,
and fill the gap, explore opportunities in specialized careers and skilled trades, to name a few. We will continue this year with 3 Council of Chairs meetings this year, with the first one being on October 25th at St. Andrew's School. And all trustees are invited to this meeting at 7:00 p.m. and all our Council of Chairs meetings throughout the year. Last week at the Deanery meeting, Father Rajan Desa from St. Dominic's Church in Oakville was named head of the Deanery, and he will be our parish representative on CPIC this year. Any questions?
Thank you, Superintendent Dinolfo. Trustees, do we have questions for Superintendent Dinolfo? Seeing none, Superintendent Dinolfo, thank you so much for the work done by presenting the work done by CPIC for the past year. There's a lot happening there. And yeah, we really appreciate your guidance for CPIC as a superintendent in charge. So thank you so much for your presentation. We now move on to item 4.3, the multi-year strategic plan interim report. Director Klein, could you please introduce the presentation?
Thank you, Chair. We have with us again from Maximum City, Josh Fullen and Priya. We are, it seems like either a very short time ago or a long, long time ago that we first met with our friends at Maximum City. I think it was in the winter at that point, and we are very grateful and thankful for the work that they've done walking with us over the last several months. We are now heading into, hopefully, I think I said yesterday, maybe the 7th inning, top of the 7th inning, as we have worked very hard to read the signs of the times, read the feedback and the data that we have before us in myriad ways, so that we can, you can, as trustees, we can, working with you, try and give a sense of the why and the purpose of what we're going to be doing over the next 4 or 5 years, because that will, again, set the destination for all of us in various capacities at Halton Catholic District School Board. So Josh is here to lead us through State of the Union, as it were, and to see where we're at and to look ahead to the next couple of innings. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Klein. Chair, good evening, everyone. This chair is starting to feel familiar and comfortable. I appreciate the baseball metaphor. I'll try to work it back into our presentation. Priya and I are here this evening to share an interim report on the consultation we've been doing for the multi-year strategic plan, otherwise known as the MYSP. For those who need a bit of a refresher, the MYSP is the compass that directs the board towards ongoing improvement. And we have been out in your community since April of last year, listening to folks, and now it's our turn to tell you a bit of what we heard. It's not the final report, it's the interim report. Here's a bit of a table of contents for our presentation. I will caution folks that there is a lot of information here, and I won't present every slide, but I will try to get to the heart of the matter in 10 minutes or less. We are straddling phase 2 and phase 3, or the 7th inning, depending on your preferred sort of phasing for this. We're just rounding off the final consultations, and we're about to head into synthesis, development, and approval. The new plan will be implemented in the new year. And the next few slides are just some visual evidence of what I spoke to earlier in terms of the folks we have been listening to. So we have newcomer families, we have the Catholic Council of Chairs, we have Student Senate. We have Priya and I were at a pop-up for a system-wide track and field day in June. Student Senate again. And this is sort of the engagement by the numbers. So you'll see a breakdown here of the different participant groups and how they provided input into the MYSP process. So there are a number of different tools, both in person and online. And we had just over 1,200 participants in total as of September 14th. That number has since gone up because we were at the Deanery meeting on Friday, and we collected about 7,000 comments. And these next couple slides just give a bit of further insight into who responded to the survey particular. This is not all of the consultation methods, but the online survey in particular. So you see, the ratio of elementary to secondary parents in particular is about what you would anticipate in terms of a board of this size with a 4-to-1 or a 5-to-1 ratio of elementary to secondary students. The next slide is by municipality. And this, again, sort of tracks with the proportional sort of representations from the different municipalities. Milton has a higher response rate than Burlington, even though Burlington has a higher population, but that's just a bit of an anomaly in the data. But it worked out fairly well in terms of an even spread or a proportional spread, I should say. And here we have a summary of the emerging themes thus far. So there are 10 of them here, but I'm only going to focus on 8 in the next series of slides. And those are the ones that sort of generated the most conversation and input in the various consultation methods. So I will present them in alphabetical order, and they're just to sort of ground how the slides are presented. There are 3 slides for each theme. One is a word cloud that shows keywords associated with the theme itself. So that's how we coded it or sort of grouped the comments when we were doing the analysis. One is a summary that has bullet points, and I'll maybe read 1 or 2 bullet points to give you a sense of what the theme is about. And then the third one is verbatim quotes from participants, and I won't read those out. I'll let them sort of sit on the screen. So we'll try to do this as quickly as possible, but also do it justice. So this is the first theme, academic excellence. You see the word cloud and the keywords associated with it. And then on the next slide, you'll see that many comments in this category spoke to the importance of the quality of program, instructional practice, and commitment to high expectations for all students. And this should be a renewed focus, an ongoing focus of the HCDSB because of its proud tradition of academic excellence. There we have some quotes. And here we have the next theme, which is Catholic faith and the keywords associated with it. Many comments in this category spoke to the appreciation for the HCDSB's distinctly Catholic mandate and its unique identity as a Catholic learning organization. Next theme is communication and community. Many comments in this category spoke to the recognition that school environments are positive, safe, supportive, and founded on Catholic values. Moving forward, fostering a strong community and better communication should be an ongoing focus of the board. We have some quotes. And this theme is entitled Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Many comments in this category spoke to the desire to further equity, diversity, and inclusion as a priority for the board moving forward, and to create a nurturing learning environment for all genders, races, religions, and abilities. We have the theme of facilities planning and governance, some keywords associated with it. Many comments in this category spoke to the appreciation for the location of the campuses, quality of the facilities, but also a desire to see more investments in the state of good repair and new technology to support learning. Health and well-being as the theme, and many comments in this category spoke to the need to foster healthy, safe, active, and well student and staff communities as an ongoing focus and priority for the HCDSB. This was a theme that percolated strongly from students. It's called Learning and Serving Beyond the Classroom. I'm going to go to the second bullet point here. There was a strong sense from students in this category that they wanted more than just doing school out of their HCDSB experience. They're eager to reach beyond the classroom for service learning and have impact in their communities. this is our last theme, staff support and development. See the keywords associated with it. And many comments in this category spoke to particularly staff seeing collaboration as a key ingredient for school success and a desire for more time and resources to invest in staff training and growth and interdisciplinary collaboration. So there are the 8 themes again in alphabetical order. Go to the next slide, please. And then in terms of next steps, as I mentioned earlier, there are a few consultations that we are still conducting. We visited with the deanery on Friday and got some good feedback from them. There will be a final consultation report that builds on the existing interim one. And then throughout the next few months, we will continue synthesis, development, and approval of the new MYSP, which, as I said, will be implemented in the new year. I think that is my last slide. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. We'll take questions from trustees now. I see Trustee Saunders, you have your hand up, you're the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. I'm just wondering, something we brought up at our last meeting was sort of the relatively low response rate. I think we're about 1.3% of students and parents. And I see you've got some plans to try and expand that. I just wonder if you can give us an idea, sort of your impressions of how are we going to get these numbers up?
Thank you, Trustee Saunders. Mr. Pullen.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Trustee Saunders, I appreciate the question. We are working with the staff working group to identify groups who we can go a little bit deeper with. I know the number seems low. I wouldn't focus too much on the number and focus on the depth of the feedback that we're collecting at this point. I think we have a large enough sample to speak from an evidence base to the new MYSP. And our focus in the next few months should really be going back to the groups who we need to hear more specifically from, rather than more broadly from. That.
Thank you. Trustee Saunders?
Yes, sir. Just to follow up. My concern is that we've introduced some sample bias in here, because I noticed that we've gone to student senate a few times. We've gone to some places that it may not be as representative as like broadly based, like, get all the kids in a gym and ask them questions or something. I don't know what we can do, but I'm not 100% comfortable that we've got enough of a broad perspective to really get an idea of a plan that's going to be, we're going to be using for the next 5 years. So, in any effort to try and increase that number, I think for me would be, I think, a bonus. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Saunders. Mr. Pullen, would you like to respond?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I appreciate that, Trustee Saunders, and we will work with the staff working group to sort of mitigate your concerns. I totally agree that we need to hear from more, particularly students, from a broader cross-section of students, and that will help make the sample more robust. So I appreciate your question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Up next is Trustee Murphy. Trustee Murphy, the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. Trustee Saunders touched on the question about students, so I was going to ask that. However, I did have another question. There was a theme that came out about different priorities, like diluting academic excellence. I'm not sure if I'm getting the wording correct, but is that something that you're going to get more specific on? Like, what are these priorities they're talking about? Whose priorities are they, and where does this need to be reconciled? Is it parents saying this? Is it students? Is it staff? I'd like more information on that.
Mr. Pullen.
Thank you, Trustee Murphy, and through you, Mr. Chair. And Priya, you can help support this answer as needed. That comment was from staff and parents in particular, and it spoke largely to the idea that the job of educators has become quite challenging because they're pulled in so many different directions. And because one of the core sort of bits of DNA in this board is academic excellence, that's something we've heard. That's not something I'm sort of making up on the spot. That because the board, because staff, and because students are being pulled in all these different directions, there is a sense that some of that focus on academic excellence is being lost, and it is being spread among a variety of other causes that are worthy, that people recognize as worthy. But the concern there is that the focus on academic excellence is being diluted because of all the different sort of priorities that folks feel they need to address in the course of the day. Does that help?
It does, but then if I can follow up, Mr. Chair, then it just speaks to, again, if the students are asking for more groups, but then the parents and the teachers are saying that it's diluting their efforts to produce academic excellence. I'm just thinking out loud how that gets to be reconciled.
Thank you, Mr. Fullen.
I'm not sure there was a question there.
Yeah.
Comment, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I believe you are presenting what you heard from the.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Up next is Trustee Ohanchanara. You have the floor.
Thank you very much through you, Mr. Chair. To Josh, how are you?
I'm well.
I am not the consultant, so I'm the first one to admit that. But to scaffold Trustee Saunders' question, when I sit at the table, I'm responsible for the entire board. However, when I see the data, it shows 5 students from Halton Hills responded. I don't really think that's a voice of Halton Hills. So I really ask you to kind of look at that and see if there's something we can do to get a greater voice there. I don't want to exceed the percentage of a municipality, but 5 is not very much.
Thank you. Any plans, Mr. Fullen, for getting more voice out there, more respondents?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Trustee, I appreciate the question, and I think the same answer I provided to Trustee Saunders, that we will work with the working group to sort of refocus some efforts to build up those numbers, and also focus on quality of input rather than quantity of input at this point.
Absolutely, but a follow-up, 5 is a very small percentage.
Agreed.
That is not a data point. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Trustee Ohanchanara. Up next is Trustee Kennedy. And Trustee Kennedy, you have the floor.
Just to kind of piggyback on the last few comments about survey respondents by group, page 32 or page 10 on the slide deck. So I'm just looking at it, and when I see, it looks like to me, when I look at the respondents, we have about 4,600 staff. This is just the survey. We have 161 respondents, so about 3.5%. But when we have students, it's 0.5%. And really the students are our customers, right? We need staff to tell us resources, what they can do, what they need help on. But really it's the students that we get the funding from. So I guess, again, just reiterating, maybe we can get more feedback from students. And also maybe a question, when you look at the students in secondary, is there a breakdown of, maybe you won't have that now, but how many of that was maybe grade 12 students who are not here anymore? You know, if it was done last year, is it kind of broad-based across the secondary, group of students? And parents, if we look at parents and students combined, it's actually still about half of staff percentage. So yeah, if there's anything we can do to maybe move that up a bit, because it's the parents and students that really, that's where the funding comes from, right? They're our customers, and they're the demand, and we got to supply what they're asking for. So just wondering if we can get that number up a bit.
Thank you, Trustee Kennedy. Let me just say a few things before. Survey went out to parents, went out to stakeholders, went out to everybody. Timelines were very clear. Follow-ups were sent. Ms. Swindon could advise, or Dr. Collymore. We did what has to be done, and we got the results. The data was presented to Maximum City, took the numbers. I'm not sure we are in a position where we can hold someone's hand and tell them, now you do the survey. I'm not sure we are in that position, but again, to Mr. Fullen, if you could speak on that, are these numbers typical of surveys, and Dr. Collymore could jump in?
For you, Mr. Chair, Trustee, I thank you for the question, and happy to have Lisa and Priya support my answer. In terms of comparable exercises we have completed for boards of this size, I would say this is in the range. What you're looking at, remember, on those slides is the survey responses. It's not the total number of responses through the facilitated sessions and through the various forums that we participated in person. That is specifically the survey. I agree wholeheartedly that students need to be at the center of the plan. This is something we say when we do this work at every single board. We say it at the beginning, we say it in the middle, and we say it at the end. Students must be at the center. And to your point, Trustee Kennedy, and to the points that the other trustees have made, we will work with the staff working group to get more student voice included in this process, so that we lift up that center and it really sort of informs the new plan as much as possible, because I fully agree with what you're saying, and that's part of our process.
Thank you. Trustee Kennedy?
Yeah, just as a follow-up to that. So on page 43, it mentions that all comments were treated equally from sessions. So should we really treat the comments all equally? Like, should the students' comments or the parents maybe, do you think maybe be a little bit higher because they are the customers as opposed to, you know, maybe staff in this case? Would that something, or is that just standard across?
Mr. Fullen?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and we wrestle this alligator all the time. In a qualitative data set, I think as a researcher and as someone approaching the analysis, you have to treat every comment equally. And then you have sort of discrete, you might have provisos at the end of your analysis that say, and this is in our report, parents are overrepresented in the sample. But that is common for a process such as this. When you send out a survey in June, the folks who typically have time to engage in the survey will be parents. And as I said, we've done this exercise with a number of different boards. Parents always have the largest sample. It doesn't mean that they have the strongest voice in the process, because when we go through the synthesis and the development, we work with board staff and trustees, we take all of that into account. It all goes into the funnel. But this is typical. Parents answer surveys. We get at students different way. We get in rooms with students. We went to the student senate. We will find other ways to capture student voice. So I would say, is it a rigorously scientific process? No, but it's not meant to be. We're not looking for a representative sample of students, parents, teachers. That's not our job. Our job is to go out and listen to as many folks as we can. It's a coalition of the willing. We put out different tools. We invite people to answer surveys. We go where they're spending time. We listen to them. We tell you what we heard. We help you write your plan.
Thank you. Up next is, I think I gave you 2 questions, so we'll come back to you. Trustee McGuire, you have not spoken before. You have the floor.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you again for presenting this report. It's really incredible to see and stuff. And I understand what you're saying about like quality over quantity of responses, but I have noticed that the elementary students from the data, there's only 4 of them that responded. I was just wondering, like, I know that you're planning to increase your student, I guess, responses or feedback and stuff in this coming phase. Like, how could you, do you have any plans to include elementary students in that just to increase that voice?
Mr. Fullen?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Trustee McGuire. I think it's another great suggestion that we can put into our discussions with our working group. A survey is maybe not the best tool to reach an elementary student, but getting in a room with elementary students, they have lots to say. As we saw, as was evidenced in those videos from the summer programs, particularly with the younger students, I think we would be eager to sit in a room and engage with those folks. Our sort of principle is that you're never too young to participate in a process like this. So we will take that back to the working group and see what we can do to speak to some elementary students.
Thank you. Do you have a follow-up, Trustee McGuire?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll jump to Trustee Carabella because you're not asked a question. Trustee Carabella, you got the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. More of a statement, I think, or a comment. You were talking about the student-centered being the most important voice. So I'd like to also caution that the parents' voice is very important because they're parents and they know a lot what they want, and they always want the best for their students. So I just wanted to focus on trying to get also more parent input. Thank you.
Thank you. I shall now go back to Trustee Saunders.
Thanks very much, Board Chair. Just a question, and I brought this up the last one. This is concerning when we look at emerging theme staff support and development, where we say the students face challenges because of large class sizes, less support, and having teachers that are burnt out, stressed, overworked due to poor teacher support provided by the ministry and the board of and board decisions. So when we sort of move down this, and this might be premature, how do you vision that? When we're putting together a multi-year plan, is that like will we have steps, or will you recommend committees, or how do we, because that's concerning in and of itself. So what's the vision when we end up with a multi-year plan? How does something of that get tied into our plan moving forward?
Mr. Fullen?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Trustee Saunders, for the question. So the plan itself does not operationalize the things that you've described. What it does is it will set commitments that other board plans, so board action plans, school learning plans, et cetera, will help meet. And some of those, to be frank, are outside of the scope of an MYSP. Class size is not something that the MYSP can influence.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Trustee Saunders. And finally, we have Trustee Kennedy. You have the floor.
Just going back to the very end of the report, it says three people reviewed the data set to check for errors and mitigate bias, with one person leading the coding. Are those three people external, like on your team, or are they internal members? Like the three people, who would they be?
Mr. Fullen?
Sure. Appreciate the question through you, Mr. Chair. The three people are the two people sitting here and Katie, our colleague. So they're all people who work for us. Yeah. And the idea there is that, you know, it's not one person looking at the data, it's three people with different life experiences, different perspectives. Priya led the coding, and then Katie and I reviewed it. We all came up with the keywords. We spent quite a bit of rigor and time in the summer, really making sure that we were doing that data set justice. So I hope that helps answer your question.
Thanks. And I was following up in summer. That work is getting done. Yep. Trustee Kennedy, done? Yeah.
Yeah, and just so the themes are great because they have like a high level, but on certain comments like communication and community, like staff desire, the fourth one for transparent and consistent communication, so on and so forth. Are there like is there comments beneath that staff have given? Like for, you know, each section has maybe 4 or 5 check marks points. Mm-hmm. So within that's obviously a high level what you're seeing from the responses. Is there like all the responses available too? Like if there's 7,000 of them, but are they organized under the headings to see like which one was the most of the groups or of the 4? Is there one that's more consistent among parents and students and staff? Maybe like 3 groups are thinking the same thing.
Go ahead, Mr. Fullen. Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Another really good question, Trustee Kennedy. Thank you. Yes, we have that information. It was submitted as part of the steering committee's interim report. And I'd be happy to produce it again. And we have it all sort of organized in a table by participant group, by theme. Am I missing anything? So there is a breakdown of that data. So you can see who said what and who focused on which theme more and who focused on which theme less. Yeah, so that information does exist. Yeah.
Thank you. We'll take one more speaker, and Vice Chair Agnew, you have the floor.
So just a comment, Josh, you've had a lot of great questions here tonight, but you know, I really want to actually commend you and applaud you for the work you've done. Anyone that has been involved in a multi-pronged, multi-stakeholder type of multifaceted project like this, it's not easy. I've been grateful to participate in a number of the different groups that you've done as far as, you know, gathering, collating that data. So again, I know it's not easy. I think you guys have done a fantastic job with your timelines, reporting back, obviously hearing some of the questions here tonight, but I just think it was important. This is something that we were very much looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the next steps as far as when this is finalized and we can put some of these strategic priorities into operations. But thank you to you and your team because you have done a tremendous job with the project ahead of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And this entire report was presented at the Multi-Year Strategic Planning Committee a couple of weeks back, and trustees had the opportunity to look at it and discuss it. And the entire committee, consisting of staff, was present too, and we had a great discussion. So once again, thank you, Mr. Fullen, for the work done on the Multi-Year Strategic Planning report. And you have spoken to staff, teachers, internally and external groups, and we look forward to the completed plan. And I know you have a few weeks more of work left to be done. And we're still hoping to meet the deadline of November, December, if I'm correct? Yep.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So thank you so much for
You're
coming and taking the time and presenting all the work you did. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everyone. Have a good evening.
Okay, we now move on to our next order of business, which is delegations. We have none tonight. Consent agenda items is our next order of business, and item 6.1 is action items. We have agreed to remove item 6.1.3.2. That's policy II-25. And so on noted items, we have agreed to take out items 6.2.1, which is a summary of outstanding items from the previous meeting. So the rest of the items on 6.1 will stay as action items. There will be a single motion to approve the action items, and there will be no discussion on that. There will be no discussion on noted items as well. I will now read the motion. Resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board approve consent agenda items 6.1.1, 6.1.2, 6.1.3, less 6.1.3.2 on September 19th, 2023 as submitted. May I have a mover, please? Looking for a mover. Moved by Trustee Agnew. Looking for a seconder. Was it Trustee Carabella? I'll take this to a recorded vote. There's no discussion on this item. So this is consent agenda. We are voting on item 6.1. Trustee.
Point of privilege, Mr. Chair. Can we have 6.1 up on the screen, please?
Yes. Yes. Can we have the consent agenda? So trustees, we are voting on 6.1.1. Can we increase the size? Trustees, is that okay? So we are voting on item 6.1.1, 6.1.2, 6.1.3, less 6.1.3.2, which is policy II-25 has been removed from this consent agenda and action item. Okay, trustees, I shall now call the vote. Trustee Ohonchan.
I'm in favor.
Trustee Agnew.
In favor.
Trustee Murphy.
In favor.
Trustee Saunders. Favor. Trustee Kelly.
In favor.
Trustee Chua. No, sorry. Trustee Deepu.
In favor.
Trustee McGuire.
In favor.
Trustee Carabella.
In favor.
Trustee Powell.
In favor.
Kennedy.
In favor.
So we have 8 in favor, none opposed, no abstention, motion carries. The consent agenda carries. We shall now move on to our next order of business is business arising from previous meeting, item number 8. Summary of outstanding items from previous meeting is in your package. Yes, can we get the business arising on the screen? Table. This item was pulled out from the consent agenda by Trustee Kennedy. And Trustee Kennedy, I shall call upon you to ask your question on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just running, many of the items were here from the previous group of trustees. Maybe just the first one, update to boardroom technology. Are these things that are still in progress, or are there updates coming later this year on that? That's the first one.
Thank you, Trustee Kennedy. I'm going to call on Superintendent Lofts to answer that question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to Trustee Kennedy. We've actually added a lot of additional technology to our boardroom. Cameras, some of the soundboard work has already been done. There was some interest in, we've provided all new laptops to trustees with the previous group, and then our new friends or our new trustees have got obviously new laptops as well. So that might be the last area that we might be looking at, is something more for meeting purposes. I'm kind of taking eScribe to the next level. That's probably the last thing that we have, Trustee Kennedy. But like, we have updated a lot of the existing technology already.
Thank you, Trustee Kennedy. Superintendent Lofts, if you could review the progress with your staff and come back and update that document. Thank you. Trustee Caravella, you have a question on the business arising? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I did have a question. I was glad it was taken out of the consent agenda regarding the appraisal of the Director of Education, where it says it's going to be referred back to the policy committee. So I have two questions about like when would that be happening, and if it's going to incorporate directives from the Better Schools and Student Outcomes Act that is now suggesting more standardized director appraisal.
Thank you, Trustee Caravella. So we are going to be talking about the business arising. We are going to be talking about questions to staff with respect to follow-up actions. We are not going to be discussing the item. Okay, we cannot be discussing. We can talk about the follow-up, what's happening with that. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to the chair of policy, Trustee Ohanchanada.
Thank you, through Mr. Chair and Trustee Carabella. Thank you for asking that question. Superintendent Bakaich and I have spoken about it since last June in the summer. It is on one of the agendas for the next, hopefully get it in before the end of 2023. Superintendent Bakaich.
Superintendent Bakaich, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Thank you, Trustee Orn. I was looking at you, but it is on the policy work plan for November. It was in the package for policy on at our last meeting. So it is scheduled for November.
And just to help follow up, Trustee Carabella, yes, with the new ministry guidelines that will be discussed at the time. Yep.
Thank you. I did send trustees some information on the OCSTA session yesterday. It's got a little bit more information there if you can find that. Okay. Thank you. Trustee Kennedy, you have your hand up again?
Yeah, thank you. So, and then the third item in the businesses arising is equity audit. Again, just before the current group of trustees. And I don't think we touched on this last year at all. Just wondering, it's in progress. Do we have a date? I have a couple questions, but maybe the first one, do we have a date of when we might expect to get some feedback on the equity audit?
Okay.
Number one.
So I will pass this to Director Klein. Director Klein?
Yeah, the simple answer is yes, and we'll be looking at the October 17th meeting, so the second one in October.
Thank you, Trustee Kennedy.
And just wondering, when we do maybe I think we have financials coming up in a month or so through Superintendent Lofts. Will we have, like, is the equity audit, I was just curious, is it running over 4 fiscal years for expenses? Like, because it was in 2021 before the end of August. So has it been maybe, again, I wouldn't expect to have these answers today. Maybe when you do the numbers, just curious, is it a 4 fiscal year project? And do we get funding PPF specifically for it, or is it just straight out of the GSN? And kind of how much? What's the
before we jump into further discussion, can you point out to me the item right there on the screen, which paragraph you're talking about? And we'd like to focus on the progress. I don't want to get into financials or
no, for next financial data.
Yes. So can you point out the paragraph that you're talking about so that Superintendent Love can answer that paragraph? I do not want to open up discussion because we will never stop. So.
Yeah, the question wasn't to be answered today.
Okay.
It was for the next time we have a financial update. So in progress, obviously there's costs for things in progress. So that's the paragraph in progress. So the question is, when we have our next financial update, can we get an update of maybe costs, funding? Is it over a four fiscal year period for the next time we have our financial discussion?
So again, we are talking about progress here. That's a question for a different location, different time, different discussion. So I'll skip over that question. Do you have any other question on the document which is up in front of us, business arising? Okay, thank you. We shall now move on to our next order of business, which is action items. Item number 9, we have one action item here for tonight. Item 9.2, policy II-25, selection of learning and library materials. This policy was at the June 20th board meeting. Trustees have agreed to send this back to policy committee for further discussions, deliberations. The policies now come back from the policy committee, which was unanimously agreed upon, back to the board for approval. Trustee Ohanchanada, can you please read the motion?
Thank you, through Mr. Chair. The following recommendation is presented for consideration of the board. Be resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board accept the recommendation of policy II-25, selection of learning and library materials be approved.
Thank you, Trustee Ohan Chinada. This, since it's come from policy, we do not need a mover. We do not, it's moved from policy, we do not need a seconder. Trustee Ohan Chinada, can you speak to this item, please? Would you like to speak to this item? Thank you, Trustee Ohan Chinada. Okay, this item was pulled out from the agenda by Trustee Murphy. So I shall now pass on to Trustee Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. I would like to move that we bring this policy back to the next policy meeting. If you'll recollect at the last meeting, I wanted to add an amendment, and through some discussion with Superintendent Kroll, we decided that we would want to collaborate a little more and come up with.
But before you go there, so you want to move an amendment. So we need to
No,
move.
I want to move the policy,
back
that the
to-
policy be sent back to the next policy meeting.
So
on
we'll need a
October 19th.
mover, seconder.
Okay,
Then you
so
can
then
give
I'm
your,
moving it.
then you can need, then we'll do the discussion at that point in time. So Trustee Murphy moves that we move it back to, 1 second, give me a second, please. Thank you. We're going to refer this back to the policy committee. So Trustee Murphy moves that we move policy II-25, selection of learning and library materials, to the policy committee. May I ask for a seconder, please?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Trustee Kennedy. So we got to use our timer now. Okay, give me a second. And Trustee Murphy, you have 3 minutes. Okay, so you have 3 minutes to present.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't think I'll need the full 3 minutes. I wanted to move that we refer this back to policy committee. As the last discussion we had at the last policy meeting, I had put forward an amendment. And the amendment was that there be some digital records of the deselection process with coding, and through discussion with Superintendent Kroll, I'm asking that we bring it back. We want a little bit more time to collaborate on what might be the best course of action to address this amendment. And the reason I want the amendment is I do believe that there needs to be more transparency on books that are deselected from our library. I'm assuming it's not very difficult to digitally record books that are deselected. So I would just like more formality around it, so that should there be any questions around books that have been removed and for what purposes, that there is a record there. And I think that many of our parents would greatly appreciate that. So I would appreciate the support of my fellow trustees to bring this back for some further fulsome discussion on this policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Murphy. I said 3 minutes. You actually had 5 minutes. Okay, so I cut it down by 2 minutes. So with that, we shall open up the floor. Now we could break it down as like we do for all action items. We break it down into questions and then we break it down to debate. Do we want to do it or just go for debate at this point in time? So we should go for debate. Okay, so trustees, we have 3 minutes for debates, and I shall open up the floor for debate only. We have a speakers list. Trustee Ohan Chinada, you have the floor.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, to Trustee Murphy. You did mention an amendment that was previously discussed at the September 12th policy meeting. That the amendment, is this amendment going to be exactly the same?
Moving forward into the next policy committee meeting?
Yes.
Not necessarily, no. I want to discuss further with senior, Superintendent Kroll and potentially head of the librarians, Miss Linda Murray. So the short answer is potentially no.
Thank you, Trustee Ohan Chinada.
Follow?
Yep.
Just my only concern that I bring it out there for full transparency is that the amendment was brought up at the policy meeting, and the appetite at the time was it was voted down. So the appetite to have a digital copy was not consensus, in my opinion, being the policy chair. So that's my only concern, that we've already done that once. And I'm just feeling responsible to use our time in a wise manner. So that's my comment.
Thank you. We shall now go to Trustee Saunders.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
And you have 3 minutes, okay?
Sure, no problem. Yeah, I just think there's been some changes. I mean, from what I recall last week, there was a story about one of the Peel Deference schools where they had deselected thousands of books prior to a certain year. So I think that this topic has kind of risen up to the top of people's interest. So I think that bringing it back might not be a bad idea, because I think there might be an appetite for something like this, given sort of what we're seeing in other school boards. So I would support this for that reason, that things have kind of changed in the last week or two. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Saunders. I see no other speakers here, so I shall call the vote on the amendment. So the amendment, sorry. Yeah, it's a motion which has been amended, right? Sorry, it's a motion. My mistake. I apologize. So it's a motion which is moved by Trustee Murphy, seconded by Trustee Kennedy. With that, I shall now call the vote. And we are voting to move this policy back to the policy committee. Trustee Agnew?
Opposed.
Trustee Murphy?
In favor.
Trustee Saunders?
In favor.
Trustee Kelly?
Opposed.
Trustee Chua? Sorry, Trustee Deepu?
In favor.
Trustee McGuire?
In favor.
In favor, did I hear that? Yeah, sorry. Trustee Carabella?
In favor.
Trustee Powell?
I'm opposed.
Trustee Kennedy?
In favor.
Trustee Ohanchanada?
No, I'm opposed.
And Trustee Duarte is opposed. So it's 4 in favor, 5 opposed. The amendment fails. So now we go back to the policy, the original policy, as it has been moved from policy to the board. So now, do we have any questions on the policy as presented to the board? Trustee Saunders, you have your hand up? Okay, Shachin, move your hand down. Trust. Yes, sure. As a point of privilege, yes. Trustee, sorry, can we have this? So we have one speaker to speak on the policy as presented. Trustee Carabella, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since this policy came back to the table and now it's open, I did have questions regarding budgeting for the library budget, their resources. So in our budget, is there a particular line for libraries? And how is the budget divided between the libraries? Is it each one has an individual amount? And like, is there ever presented a breakdown of how much money is spent buying new books? Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Carabella. I shall pass it on to Superintendent Lofts.
Thank you. Through Mr. Chair to Trustee Carabella. Trustee Carabella, I wasn't prepared to answer that question for tonight, but we do have an allocation for library books and such. I just don't have the exact amounts for tonight. So unless Superintendent Kroll, no.
Yeah, I was thinking about the same thing because I don't think staff would have been prepared to answer that question. That's why I had paused for a second. But Superintendent Kroll, do you know?
I wouldn't have exact numbers for you, but I certainly can say that each school does have a specific library budget.
Yeah.
As well as a central for our LRC, or Learning Resource Center. So we have both a central budget for resources that are shared through the system, and the schools have their own individual budgets. I just wouldn't be able to tell you the numbers tonight.
Thank you. Follow?
The follow-up is I'm not looking, actually, maybe it wasn't clear, not a specific number, but it does show up on our, when we get our budget in December, there'll be a line there Haven't looked for it before, so I'll look for it. So
Superintendent Lofts.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Trustee Carbella, there would be a number, I believe, and it's only aggregated though. It's not broken down, so aggregate all combined together. So it wouldn't be like, I don't know, St. Gabe's would have this and St. Mark's would have that kind of thing, but.
Thank you, trustees. I shall now call the vote on policy II. Which one? Sorry. Policy II 25, selection of learning and library materials. It has been moved from policy to the board. We do not need a mover. I shall now call the vote on this item. Trustee Murphy.
Can you come back to me, please?
Yes, sure. Trustee Saunders.
I am opposed.
Trustee Kelly.
in favor.
Trustee Deepu.
In favor.
Trustee McGuire.
In favor.
Trustee Carbella. I'll come back to you.
Thank you.
Trustee Paul.
I'm in favor.
Trustee Kennedy. You want me to come back to you? Okay. Trustee Johan Chanara.
In favor.
Trustee Agnew.
In favor.
Trustee Murphy.
Still need a minute.
Okay, we'll do this one more round and we shall call it. Trustee Carbella.
I'll be opposed.
Trustee Kennedy. Okay, are you voting in favor, opposed, abstention? Oh, you're still reading that? I think I called a vote. So trustees need to come prepared for the meeting. I'm sorry. So how do you vote, Trustee Kennedy? Okay, thank you. Trustee Murphy?
I'm going to abstain.
Abstain. Okay, so with that we have 5 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 abstention. Motion carries. The policy passes. We shall now move on to our next order of business, the staff reports, item number 10. Item 10.1, 2023 capital priorities. Superintendent Merrick, please present your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, and through you, we present the 2023-2024 capital priorities program report. So back in August, the ministry put out a call for new capital projects to all school boards, and they're looking for proposals from school boards in one of 4 categories. The first being accommodation pressures, the second being school consolidations, and those are school consolidations that would have happened and been approved by trustees. I believe it's prior to 2018, because since then there's been a moratorium on school consolidations or closures. The third category being facility condition requests, and the fourth category being access to French language for French school boards. So the 2 that concern us primarily would be accommodation pressures and facility condition requests. They're looking for proposals to be submitted to the ministry by October 20th, and then we would then be expecting announcements on funding or not being funded early in the new year. There are a few changes to the program. So some trustees that have been around for a while would remember this program in the past, but there are a few changes for this round. They are focusing on shovel-ready projects. So they're looking for boards to have projects that are ready to go, which historically we've had a very good record of getting our projects in the ground quickly and getting them opened, which is what the ministry wants to see. They are looking at the board's past project delivery history, which again, we have a pretty good track record on. We're actually one of the boards that the ministry consults a lot when looking to change this program and how boards build schools quickly. So I think we have a good standing in that sense as well. And they're also changing how the program is funded, where there's no longer a benchmark funding amount, where they're providing a standard amount per school. They're looking for boards to propose the funds that are required within a certain range, which I think will also help speed along the projects as well. So I think all of those changes, the pretty drastic changes to the program, but I think Halton Catholic is in pretty good standing in all those areas, and it should aid us in this program in the future. So with that, staff is bringing forward a recommendation for 7 projects for consideration, which you'll see in table 1 of your report tonight. I'll give you a quick brief on each of the projects, but the first project being the Holy Cross Replacement School. So this project would look to construct a new school on the Georgetown West site. So it's a site that we own in Northwest Georgetown. And we've owned that site since 2004, I believe. And this would address the school condition concerns at the existing Holy Cross School, as well as give us some growth flexibility for future growth in Georgetown. Trustees that have been around for a while will again know that we've applied for this project 10 times in the past and been denied all 10 times. So I'm trying to get creative with how we can propose this project and looking at proposing to the ministry that we would also sell the existing Holy Cross School. So as we build the new one, or after we build the new one, look at selling the existing site and using those funds back into to kind of supplement the project. Also trying to get creative with methods to partially or fully fund the project on our own as well. So hopeful that would be more successful on that proposal our 11th time around. Priorities numbers 2 to 4 are they're kind of small building additions for small pockets of growth that we have across the board. The first being the number 2 priority for an addition at Our Lady of Victory in Milton, looking for about a 8 to 10 classroom addition. And we'd also put a childcare there as well, but this addition would allow us to accommodate new expansion that we have in Northwest Milton for the Milton Heights subdivision. So that would allow us to accommodate some additional classrooms there and a childcare. And we could also look at purchasing the land. Again, this would be through EDCs and not through the Capital Priorities Program, but the diocese does own some land next to OLV that we could look at purchasing it to accommodate that addition on that property as well. The third priority is an addition to St. Catherine of Alexandria in Georgetown. Again, there's some small growth pockets in Southeast Georgetown, and we don't have a lot of flexibility at the current St. Catherine School or St. Bridget, also in the south of Georgetown. I'm just looking to add a 6 to 8 classroom addition and a childcare center at St. Catherine of Alexandria in Georgetown. Priority number 4 is looking to do an addition at Ascension School in South Burlington. There's minor growth in South Burlington, but due to some of the sites, especially St. Raphael's site, it's a very small site. We don't have the ability to add portables or limited ability to add portables there. And when we do, it takes up a lot of space in their yard. So potentially looking at doing a special education suite addition at Ascension, which will then free up some space for us, give some purpose-built space for special education there as well, but also free up some space for us where the spec ed program is currently housed at St. Raphael's. And we can also do a childcare addition at Ascension as well. It's a very large site and has room to accommodate both those additions on the site there as well. So those are the priorities 2 to 4 with some small additions, and then priorities 5 to 7 are more future growth priorities, ones that we probably don't need and we probably will not get funded for at this time, but we do want to highlight them for the ministry as future needs for us. So a secondary school in North Oakville, another elementary school in North Oakville. So we're building North Oakville number 4 right now, but looking to add North Oakville number 3 north of Dundas and Oakville, and then also our first elementary school in the Vision Georgetown subdivision, which is in southwest Georgetown, but a next school there. Right now, that's at the OLT being appealed by the developers, so they have some legal matters to work through there first. But when that moves forward, we will need we actually have 3 schools planned in that area, so this would be the first of those 3. So again, those 5 to 7 unlikely to be funded at this point, but we do want to get them on the ministry's radar, so we're in line for funding in future rounds. So with that, next steps for this would be bringing the action report back at the October 3rd board meeting to finalize this priority list. I would ask if trustees have more questions, then they can be detailed questions on this. Please let us know in advance of that meeting so we're coming prepared with data and ready to answer questions, because the business cases are due on October 20th. And I know we do have another meeting on October 17th, but I'd prefer not to be writing business cases in 2 days. So if we could get this approved on the October 3rd meeting, that gives our planning staff a couple of weeks to write the business cases for submission on October 20th. So, and again, there will be no decisions on any of these projects until early 2024. That's what the memo says now. It could be a little bit later than that, but we'd be hopeful to hear back in early 2024 on the ministry decisions. Happy to take any questions the trustees have now, or you can email us as well and get us ready for next meeting. Thanks.
Thank you, Superintendent Merrick. I shall now open up the floor to trustees for questions. First up is Trustee Saunders. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Superintendent Merrick, I'm just wondering, for the North Oakville schools, do we have like an EDC reserve to be able to tap into if opportunities arise in terms of land? Because I know that the public school had a big announcement about some land had been released and they had purchased it. So I'm just wondering, is there anything like that? Is there any opportunity, or do we have any funding available if we had to move quickly on something?
Let me check with Superintendent Lofts or Superintendent Merrick. Superintendent Lofts.
Thank you, through Mr. Chair, to Trustee Saunders. We actually don't, how it works with EDCs, we would go out, we would take a loan out. We have a substantial line of credit, and all that interest related to that land purchase, is reimbursed. It's part of the EDC. And then Brian, want to add something?
Thanks, through Mr. Chair. Just to add, our sites are already mapped out in that area, so we know where our sites are. So we would have options to purchase those sites as they become available, and we get kind of first right of refusal on those properties, and then we go through the process that Superintendent Loss just mentioned.
Thank you. Trustee Saunders, follow up?
I do have one quick follow-up.
Sure.
For North Oakville number 4, does it have a childcare space budgeted in, or is that something that we could put in?
Superintendent Merrick?
It does not have a childcare. It was not part of the funding provided by the ministry.
So is that like we're sort of dead on that, or is that something we could go back and ask?
Yeah, as part of this program here right now as well, they're not allowing you to do childcare only projects. So adding a childcare there is not part of the current program. It would also be challenging to add to the site, but that's a whole other issue. But typically where we can, if we're doing a new school build, we ask for a childcare there as well. And sometimes they're funded. Oftentimes they're funded, but sometimes they are not, like in this case.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Trustee Ohonchanada.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. So a couple things, Superintendent Merrick, you're a very humble individual. So a couple of the reasons we're ready to go past project delivery and boards to propose the funding is because you and your staff are amazing at what you do. I may be sucking up just a tad, but it's the truth. So thank you very much, because that will give us some help. And patience is a virtue. I think number 11 is the charm. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Ohonchanada. I see no other trustees' hands up. So Superintendent Merrick, thank you for presenting this report. We look forward for this to be an action item at the future board meeting. We shall now move on to our next order of business, which is information items. We will skip over the student trustee report, and we will move on down to item 11.2, Director's Report. Director Klein, please present your report.
Thank you very much, Chair. We have a few items involved here. We have our inter-school athletics, and I'll start with that. We have elementary cross country with dates starting in October and going through to the end of October. We have elementary volleyball. These are all clear signs that COVID, for the most part, is behind us. We're back into what's more or less normal elementary and secondary times. So these are very good to see. Trustees and parents are encouraged to come see our athletes, show their skills, and enjoy the fall weather and the athleticism. I would also note that secondary is busy as well, and some of you have already begun to take a look at some of the football that has begun. We have cross country as well in secondary, baseball, field hockey, and golf. I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out and a thanks to the staff and others who take time out of their lives to coach and to nurture these students. And we know that a lot of this is, again, athleticism, but through sports, people learn other great things, least of which is respect for others and hard work. We have a PA day coming up, and I think trustees are aware that under modified regulations, there's going to be pretty clear and early communications to parents. I think this Friday we have communication going out with regard to the 6th of October, which is our next PA Day. And Catholic school boards around the province very often take one of the days that's designated for PA Days and dedicate it to faith. And Halton has traditionally done this in that week leading up to Thanksgiving. This is a site-based day. We have had several of our staff, most notably the secondary school chaplains. Of course, we have great leadership there under Superintendent Nar, preparing resources for our schools who will be running these themselves. So they'll be site-based. And of course, these are aligned with our theological theme, which is rooted in scripture from Micah. Trustees are aware, I'm not sure if the public is aware, but we have had for the last, in my memory, the last 8 or 9 years, an annual, except for COVID, notwithstanding COVID, a diocesan mass that has been celebrated on a rotating basis through different school boards in the Hamilton Diocese. And this year it is being hosted at St. Jerome's University in Waterloo. So between all our school boards and St. Jerome's University, we provide Catholic education from the age of 3 to much greater than 3 when students are in the University of Waterloo. That is this Thursday, so in 2 days' time. And we will have some trustees, students, staff, myself, and other senior leaders will be there from all 7 Catholic district school boards who will attend, and that includes our French Catholic school board as well. And Bishop Crosby will lead us in the celebration of Mass. It's always a wonderful opportunity to celebrate the blessing that is really unique to Ontario, fully funded schools that are Catholic. Senior team near the end of last year worked along with communications to identify some of the special or noteworthy days that come throughout the year. We all know about, usually when it's over, about a certain day. This was so-and-so Appreciation Day, and we slam our fists down. And there are, we know every day of the year, some appreciation or some day dedicated to pretty much everything. So we decided to focus on some relevant days, key days, and these are the ones for September. I know we're partway through, but we'll update these as we go along. Some of you have already seen tweets and other social media references to things like Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorders Day, which again came a couple of weeks ago, but was noted through that week. Rosh Hashanah just finished, but the other days here that are coming up are notable. And again, that's just part of the conversation to try and highlight the days that would be noted. And at the end of the month, of course, notes National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And pretty much everybody has orange shirt that they will wear that day. And again, mark that, that solemn day. Any questions?
Thank you, Director Klein, for your presentation session. Now open up the floor to trustees for questions. Trustees, do we have questions?
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Trustee Saunders, please, please present your point of order.
Is it appropriate to ask?
Can you state?
Sorry?
You got to state your point of order.
My question is, can I ask?
No, not question.
Okay.
So a point of order is when something, a procedure, policy is not followed.
It is a procedure.
So can you state what procedure, policy, what policy is not, what bylaw is not followed?
Okay, so I'm not sure of bylaw. Maybe you can help me with this.
Okay.
I want to know if I can ask the director a question that does not relate to the stuff he presented. Is that appropriate at this point?
So that's not a point of order.
Okay.
So point of order is if you find any of the trustees breaking a bylaw, then you can always raise a point of order and say, Mr. Chair, point of order, bylaw so-and-so is broken.
Okay.
So that's what you do. So your question is, you want to ask a question which is unrelated to
the presentation.
The presentation.
Yeah.
Typically, we entertain questions which are germane to the topic. So when Director Klein is presenting on some topic, on maybe on sports, if your question is related to sports, then we would have that. If not, you pay attention to this discussion. If it comes up in that area, then you would ask the question. If it's germane to that discussion, okay. So your point of order is not valid. So we shall now move on to a speakers list. We have Trustee Agnew. You have the floor.
Thank you through you, Mr. Chair. So just a question about the cross-country days. So is that also, are we having our Special Olympics or our system-wide spec ed day that day as well?
Director Klein.
Has it been a year already? I'm going to turn this over to, sorry, Coach. Did you want?
I was going to go to the washroom.
We shall come back to your question. Because
I'm sure either.
Yeah, do you want?
No.
There you go.
Through you, Chair.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the same day. Those dates are in line with the family of schools. So the Oakville days will be the same day as the Olympics for those students.
Thank you very much.
You're very
So
welcome.
Can we just make a note then, because I didn't know that I saw that in the, if we could just make a note, because I know last year it just wasn't communicated out on our calendar. Can we just make a note to be intentional about letting the system know that those days are part of those?
So Vice Chair, I'll take that question and pass it to Director Klein. Director Klein, please ensure the communication goes out to staff. Vice Chair, do you have a follow-up?
No, so not just to staff, Mr. Chair, but just like last year, it wasn't on the calendar of events as being the special education portion or the Special Olympics, it just wasn't mentioned. So if we can just make sure that we're intentional that that is actually part of those particular days so that grandparents want to go or anybody wants to go to support the students, that they know that those are happening.
Thank you. Director Klein got that noted. Next up is Trustee Kennedy. Trustee Kennedy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just regarding achieving the Better Schools and Student Outcomes Act, I'm just wondering if at some point we can maybe have an update from the director about how that maybe impacts us, some of the plans that we're putting in place, regarding the reading, writing, math. It also says that there might be more control over boards in the ministry. Maybe we could get an update of how we're prepared for that. Or there's also a specific training, I think, for trustees. So I know that's not today, but it's part of the category. Maybe we can get an update about how that impacts the board.
Thank you. I'll pass that to Director Klein.
It's a fairly broad sweeping set of regulations. I think it was compared to one of the ones that I have in my memory, early memory as a teacher, was Bill 160. So some of you might remember that going back to the early 90s. It reshifted and reshaped all of Education Ontario. So it's been compared to that. So it is large. I think it wouldn't necessarily be able to be covered in one report. I think it is something that we see kind of like a thread that would weave through a lot of what we do. Went down earlier, we talked about the director's appraisal. I know a trustee code of conduct is also part of that. And there's some other ones in terms of legislation around monies and disposal of dispersal of lands. So it might not be a bad idea to at least give maybe a thumbnail sketch of it, but I would certainly see, and it's evolving too. I think you're aware of that too. So it's a bit of a moving target and evolving entity, but I certainly think that it does warrant some conversation because it's a bit of an important factor moving forward.
Thank you. Trustee Kennedy, you have
just a quick follow-up, just totally unrelated. I'll say the name, our new superintendent of math. I'm not sure if that's the proper title, but could we also maybe get an update of how things are looking with our math program and maybe things that are changing? I know it's not.
Yeah, sorry. So Superintendent Skripik, one of his important duties is math achievement in the board. And I know in conversing with him last week, certainly is something as we move into October that we want to present the work that we're planning for this year with regard to that. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Kennedy. Trustees, do we have any other questions for Director Klein? Saying none, we shall now move on to the next item, 11.3 OCSTA update. Trustee Ohanchanada, do you want to present anything? I could help you with what happened yesterday. Thanks.
Good evening. Thank you through you, Mr. Chair. So to Trustee Kennedy's point, Chair DeWart did send us an email this afternoon, so I haven't read it yet either, but it was an update on all the OXTA modules, Bill 98, everything that you just asked. So take some time to read that. The regional meetings were yesterday. So Director Klein and Chair DeWart attended. So maybe you could help me out here, Chair DeWart, and give us your opinion through your lens from
Thank
last
you.
night.
Thank you. Forgot to add student trustee McGuire attended too. That was very nice
My
of you.
apologies, Trustee McGuire.
Really
I
appreciate
sit
that.
corrected.
I'll give a very brief synopsis of what transpired yesterday, high-level discussion. All trustees have got the information presented yesterday. It is going to take some time because they could not touch upon all the information there. It's a lot of information to digest. So all the boards in the central region had their chairs, directors, regional directors, some trustees and some student trustees in attendance. There were presentations on governance and Catholic identity, pastoral care, practical strategies for adult faith formation and Catholic leadership development. They were very big on this, on faith formation. Trustee modules, there are some new trustee modules. Trustee modules have been updated with the addition of the new trustee module, dignity of the human person, diversity, equity and inclusion. I really encourage all trustees to look at it sometime. And I think our regional director is going to have some plan on how to engage all of us together to do modules. Maybe we could do it together, but it's a lot of learning and great information. There was an update on consultations from Bill 98. Information is with you, and Director Klein presented information about our board, the challenges faced by our board, and the many successes we have had. We have had a lot more successes than the challenges, I believe, and we did a good job in presentations. Yeah, it was a great day and lots of information. Director Klein, would you like to add on to the information?
There's not much more I can add. I would say everybody was there, everybody presented. It was nice to see themes that are in common to all our boards.
Right.
And I think the celebration of I would really highlight the modules and the resources that have been developed. They're phenomenal, and they do root, for instance, whole human rights and equity with I think the values that we hold in Catholic schools. And it's a very good resource that I would highly recommend.
Thank you. I'll invite Trustee McGuire to add anything from your point of view yesterday.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. Yesterday was a great opportunity to be able to speak to other boards and other student trustees throughout the province. I really appreciated specifically the faith formation, as it's what makes our Catholic schools and Catholic system distinct. And I would like to thank the board for the opportunity to attend. Thank you.
Thank you for your I put you on the spot actually. And, thank you for presenting that. No questions here. So we shall now move on to our next order of business, which is open question period. Director Klein, do we have any questions submitted for tonight?
None were submitted.
Thank you, Director Klein. We do not have to go in camera. Sorry, trustees, I just got one item which Director Klein would like to give an update. It's going to be a very brief update, but it's going to be in camera. So would trustees be okay to go into camera for a very brief time? Okay. May I have a motion to move into camera? Moved by Trustee O'Hearn Chinada. Looking for a seconder, please. Seconded by Vice Chair Agnew. All in favor? Anybody opposed? So I'll take it to a recorded vote. Trustee Saunders, I'll take it to a recorded vote. This is item number 15. It's a motion to move in camera. It was moved by Trustee O'Hearn Chinada, seconded by Trustee Agnew. Trustee Murphy?
In favor.
Trustee Saunders?
Opposed.
Trustee Kelly?
In favor.
Trustee Deepu?
In favor.
Trustee McGuire?
In favor.
Trustee Carabella?
In favor.
Trustee Powell?
In favor.
Trustee Kennedy? Trustee O'Hearn Chinada?
In favor.
Trustee Agnew?
In favor.
And Trustee Duarte is in favor.